Good morning, Shawn.
Hi, Mom.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
How's Colorado?
He's good. A little chilly today. Not enough sun for me.
First, I just want to say thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for
This
having me here. I'm
this
excited.
recording is being shown at a presentation entitled Brave Parenting. And I'm grateful that you were willing to talk with me today and just reflect on our journey together, things that we've learned together, things that we've learned separately, in hopes that we can share those things with our community up here.
Yeah, well said.
So, since Catch started, we have talked in many different ways about the pressures and the expectations that kids feel in our community. And I know that those things were a big part of what you experienced in your journey as a teen, or maybe as a kid in general. So, can you just start by reflecting a little bit on how those expectations affected you and some things that you might have learned about your own self worth along the way?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great question. When I was first in elementary school, I very much thought that like school was the way you were tested on whether or not you were intelligent, whether or not you were a smart kid. And I was a little slower to read than maybe some people, and I took that really hard as a kid. And so I decided to put my head down and really work hard at all of the things that I thought would prove that I was a smart, capable child. Um, and so I worked really hard at school. I really wanted to be a straight A student all the way through middle and high school. And I dove into every sport that I could. And I tried my best to be the best athlete I could. I listened to everything the coach said. And I think all of it was really just little Shawn chasing the feeling that she was enough and chasing the feeling that she mattered or that she had a place in the world and that if she fought hard enough, then like at least that place was gonna be there. Um, and what I think she was really missing was like the internalized, like, no, you also matter as little Shawn the person, not little Shawn the soccer player, little Shawn the basketball player, or little Shawn the one that always gets A's. Um, there is an inherent, a being to you that matters and that deserves to be loved, even if they get a C on a math test. That still matters through that. And I think I really did not internalize that. I really thought that since I had all the resources I could to succeed in all avenues, why not try and do it? And as that mindset can be good, but I very much skipped over like what do I want? Who am I and what do I want to be like? I just kind of tried to get all the things that were shown to me that were going to help me be a capable person, and I was trying to do them to the best of my ability. Um, and I think in that, like, I was trying to control feelings of anxiety of like, am I enough? Am I worthy? If I have these accolades, if I have the best mile time, if I have all A's, I have to be, right? And in that, I think it's really important that kids know you can actually fail at all those things and still be worthy. You can also be a really bad soccer player, but have a lot of fun out on the field. And that matters just as much. And I really miss that. And I think it's really important for all children to know that they matter, even if they do things they're bad at, even if they're not good at the things their friends are good at.
Do you think that in some ways dad and I missed that? Like, it's been a long time, to be honest with you, since you've maybe even never, since you really articulated that to me as an adult. And like, do you think dad and I missed somehow, um, ensuring that you understood that whatever it is that you chose to be or do, or however well you did it, you were always loved, supported
You
enough?
know, that's tough because no, I was always aware as a kid that my parents didn't care about me getting straight A's. My parents didn't care about me being the best athlete, but there was something I think within, Northbrook or the suburbs that teach kids to be as prepared as possible for everything in life. And unfortunately, there's no way to do that well. And so we just, at least I did, tried to be the best at all of the things that seemed important in that community. And that was sports, and that was grades, and that was, whatever.
Involvement in things and
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think I think maybe what could have been missed was the modeling of handling really tough emotions. I don't think I really saw you guys work through emotions on your own. I think you guys kind of did that away with each other. And I think if I would have seen that, like, sometimes emotions can be overwhelming, sometimes dad doesn't think he's enough, sometimes mom doesn't think he's enough, it's not just me. I think that would have changed the narrative a little bit because I think I would have been a little bit more honest about how insecure I was feeling, despite me being loved and supported and
so you mean like dad and I being more vulnerable in front of you, with you even.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
what would that have looked like? Like if I were working through something tough or felt anxious about things, which of course I did and still do
Right.
all the time, it would mean saying that out loud to you.
Yeah.
Like,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, like, hi Shawn, I'm a little nervous for this board meeting right now. You want to shake it out with me? You want to go over what's gonna happen? You want to see what I do when I feel uncomfortable or when I have to do things that are hard. Um,
So not just saying, okay, let's buck up, let's do this, let's, you
let's
know,
do it anxious instead of that. Because I think like let's do it anxious just makes have has kids stay in this like uncomfortable, scared place, and that's a really icky place to stay in. And so, how do we move through anxiety and do things that are hard? Because the anxiety doesn't make you less of a person, right? I think that was what I was kind of feeling at a young age. Was like when I was having big emotions, how do I control these emotions with, running, with sports, with grades, with perfection? How can I not have to feel these tough emotions and get through them? And what I thought through them was just pushing them down as much as possible.
so one, two things are coming to mind, but one is coming to mind like super clearly that I haven't thought about since you were what, like, I don't know, 13. Do you remember before you took a test, how many times, first of all, how detailed all of your note cards were, like to the nth degree, and then how many times you wanted us to quiz you, quiz you, quiz you, quiz you, like, and
I
we
would
were like, oh my gosh, look at her. She's just,
a hard worker, isn't she?
yeah, God, she, and then, I mean, we kind of began to realize that you were way overdoing it, but we didn't realize that way overdoing like that equaled really intense anxiety. Is that,
Massive insecurity. Yeah.
and
And
did it
like, I
and
mean,
did it go away with all of that practice, or did it just sort of intensify inside your brain?
yeah, no, it just once you have like an anxiety and the way you try to fix that anxiety is reassuring it, that anxiety is just gonna keep asking for more. It got to a point where I would wake up in the middle of the night and check my assignment notebook and make sure I did all my homework. It plagued me. It was everything I thought about was homework, school, exercise, and that leads to eating disorders often, which is a very that makes sense. It's all sense of control, and I don't think I was ever taught that letting go of control is a really important thing. Um, yeah. So I think anxiety is not going to be appeased by reassurance. Anxiety is appeased by sitting with your anxious thoughts.
So I wasn't really going to go here in this conversation, but I am now. Do you remember that story you wrote? I don't know. I think it was when you were in high school, and it was a story about describing the monster of Ed, eating
Uh-huh.
disorder in your brain. Can you, and when I say Ed, I also mean like your anxiety disorder, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was manifesting itself in
Yeah.
anorexia, which was terrifying, but mostly it was the anxiety that was. Can you describe for us what it was like, or still is maybe on some days, when anxiety the is in your head to that degree, like there's so little room?
You know, I'm luckily it's been a while since it's been like that. Um, but it's it's a living hell. It's horrific for any child ever. Um, yeah, I mean your entire being is spent trying to prove you're okay and prove it's gonna be okay, and you don't fully believe it ever. And no one should have to live in that anxiety.
So that is a perfect place for us to move to this whole idea of brave parenting,
Yeah.
how we can understand not only kids who suffer like you did, but the environment in which we're raising our kids and the things that we can do starting tonight to help our kids understand that they're enough,
Yeah.
build resilience, become independent, capable human beings. And I know a large part of that conversation that we'll have is about our collective anxieties as parents.
Yeah.
And I know that because you and I have talked about it before, but be brutally honest about the things that you saw in me and in dad, but also help us understand the things that we've learned along the way that I've gotten better at, that could have helped you then, that help you now, etc. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
go back to your 12-year-old self if you can, which I realize is 13 years, but then help us understand or launch a conversation for us about what we can do as parents
For
to
sure.
avoid some of these pitfalls.
I think I think I remember being a young kid and seeing you have what I now know as anxiety. Um, and it looked brutal and it looked tough. And it's something I didn't want. And it's something that like
You mean anxiety about you and Luke?
no, I just think you you have big emotions just like I do. And you feel things deeply. And some of those things can be really overwhelming. And I don't think anyone was really taught how to deal with anxiety. And so I think I saw you kind of go through that, and it looked really tough, and I didn't want that. And so I really was looking to control my emotions so that I don't ever feel out of control with them. Um, and I think what it is better done now is saying, you know, having big emotions and feeling things deeply is an awesome thing to have. It is a great thing to have. It's awesome to have people like that in your life. And then it also comes with feeling things so deeply that sometimes they can get overwhelming. And this world can feel overwhelming sometimes. And if you or dad would have looked at me when I was really worried that you weren't okay or that whatever, and said, "No, mom's having big emotions. Sometimes this happens. You know how she dances around the house when she's feeling good? This happens sometimes when you get anxious. And like this is the world that we live in, and feelings are tough, but feelings are great." I don't think I we don't really have we didn't have those conversations really because you know no one really knew how to have those. But and then I also saw the opposite of like dad, who is not the most like, you know, emotion person out. You know, he
Does
doesn't break
not
down
dance
and
around the
sing.
house, right?
He's not right there. And so I was like, that looks a lot easier to me of just kind of going with the flow, doing things. I'm gonna try to do that. But I very quickly realized I feel things very deeply like you. And so I tried to avoid things that made me feel deeply because
So
they
you
felt
try to
overwhelming.
just like set aside those emotions,
For
stuff that you
sure, for sure.
think.
I mean, I didn't read books that had love stories because they made me feel something that I was uncomfortable feeling because it was big emotions. And even if they were good, they were overwhelming for my body because I couldn't control that. And so I think that that's just a conversation of like, if it, modeling to your kids that emotions are a good thing. Feeling them is hard and important. And learning to support yourself through really tough emotions is such a big life skill that matters. I think if your kids see you prioritizing that and you caring about that, they're going to care about it within themselves too.
So one time we spoke, and I remember you saying to me that, I mean, I've done some work for sure on my own anxieties. And so I think you and I are in a much, much better place as adults, and we've learned so many things. But one of the things I think that you noticed that I had learned, or that suggested would have been better, or yeah, that, I guess what I've learned is that, like, using those mantras to yourself as a parent. My kid is having a really hard time. My kid is really sad. My kid messed up. My kid isn't as good at a backfield as the other backfielder. And that's okay. And
Well, I
she
think it's
will
better.
be okay.
I think it's better said, whoever this kid is. My kid is a really good teammate. My kid loves his friends. My kid is so passionate about drawing. There is things that make your kid special. And it might not be that they're the best outfielder or they're the best whatever. It's something that's very akin to your kid. And that's really, really, really cool. And like I, the people who were the best basketball players but really bad teammates were not people I wanted to play with. Were people that loved being a part of a team but didn't have the skills but wanted to learn. So fun. Like and today I'm still learning how to be bad at things. How to, I can't when I go to the bar, I cannot play pool. Pool is not my game. I can't figure it out. It's not working, but I still try because I know it's really important to be bad at things and still try to do them and have fun doing them. And I think that's a really important skill that goes along with just like resilience, right? Of like,
I
I'm still
really,
a fun person, great person, even if I can't hit that ball in the pocket.
I really liked your I liked your examples, because I think it reminds us that if what we as parents value are things that are achievement oriented or accolade oriented or success oriented, then self-worth only comes if that those pinnacles are reached.
Right.
But what you're reminding us all is, look, self-worth is already here.
It's
You're,
inherent. Yeah.
yeah, you're enough is already there. And you're kind, you're sensitive. I think that's a really good reminder about how we could maybe find what really matters at the end of the day when we're parenting our kids.
Right. And remember that as an adult, um, having emotional intelligence is an equally important life skill as geometry, in my opinion, or maybe even more. Like it's at school and sports test a very specific kind of like, can you do this well? Can you accomplish this? And if they do that well, I think we're often, a lot of us are like, wow, it's a really smart kid. It's easy to do that. But then you forget that like even those really smart kids who couldn't socialize aren't gonna be happy adults. And that matters. You want your kid to be a happy, functioning adult, right? Not just one who can do really well in the corporate world or one who's going to be a really cool lawyer. That's also great. But you want them to feel like even when they lose that case or even when they mess up that board meeting, they still matter. And like the things they think, the things they feel matters. And like feeling that matters. And it's and I really do love mantras and affirmations, but I think you need to remember too, like when you're a parent, you have to do it for yourself too. It's not just about your kid. I am a good parent. I am trying my best. It is really hard to be a parent. And like if you believe you're doing well, your kids it doesn't feel like they have to prove that you're doing well by their accolades.
No, that's well said. Yeah, that's
My,
very well said.
my
That
mom is okay even when I fail. So I'm okay.
I'm not letting my mom down even when I fail.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
I even was told that by you guys. And I knew that. I knew you guys didn't care when I got off the soccer field if I did well or good. But I also I I also knew that like I needed that. And because I never realized that like there was an inherently good part of me.
So we got to wrap this up
Yeah.
fairly soon, but there's a couple little points I want to hit on first. If you were to give advice to a parent whose child is, say, coming home from school, coming home from the soccer field, coming home from a play date, that would kind of open the door to vulnerability, open the door to acceptance, open the door to anything but judgment.
Mhm.
Anything. What kinds of things would you advise a parent to say or do?
Um, I think you can start with maybe something you've done that you enjoyed throughout your day. I had a really good cup of coffee this morning. What did you do today that was fun? What did you do today that brought you joy? What was something crazy that happened today or wild? Like, I think it's if you ask your kid questions of what brought you joy today, that kid's gonna respond with something that could be totally you with something you weren't ready for, and it's awesome. What's something that you noticed today? What's something that was really fun today? Instead of, what did you get on that math test?
What
It's
about, are
what
you
did you do at
okay?
recess?
Are you okay? Are you okay? Did
Well,
I
I
ask
I
you
think
about
that really
something?
speaks to like the anxiety that you had and the reassurance you were searching for. And even if I, as a kid, didn't have the words for anxiety or reassurance, part of me, kids are smart. Kids get it. They're gonna know that there's an emotion coming from you and they're gonna want to meet it. But if one, you are okay within yourself of like, I'm a great person and I'm a great mom and I want to know what's, going on with my kid. If you're calm enough within yourself and you just leave the door open for the kid to find what they want to tell you about, that's going to be a lot better of a relationship. And your kid gets to gets to share something they found fun with you. And maybe they're going to talk about some random Minecraft thing. And like, that's a fun thing to learn about with a kid. Like, you also see what your kid is finding fun and is like weird and is different. I think like if we focus on, sports and accolades and all the things that we know, I think kids are also going to pick up like it doesn't matter if I have random free play with my, friends. My parents want to know whether or not I did well in football.
Part of what I'm going to urge the attendees tonight to do here and do as they travel about their lives is to understand the importance of what I have learned later in my parenting journey, which is the default thought is my kids are all right. Instead of my default thought being, oh my God, I haven't talked to my kid in a week. What's wrong? I am very slowly, I know, Shawn, but very slowly I'm getting to the point where the default is things must be really good. And it feels really good. But how do we help parents get there much, much earlier? How do we help parents get to a place where they can say, you're right. You get to make that decision. You get to do that on your own. You get to, I trust, I'm going to trust, I'm going to watch you go and do. How do we help parents get there?
I think mantras and affirmations or whatever you want to call them is a great way to do that. And I think finding your own is really important because there is, I'm gonna be okay. My kid's gonna be okay. You know, I, my kid can do hard things. My kid can get through hard things. I have to let my kid make decisions. And I think it's also like, think back to when you were a kid. And I think parents love talking about how, when we were a kid, we play outside all the time. We didn't have cell phones. But then you don't let your kid do that. You don't let your kid just go and figure it out and go run around. You want to know exactly where they are. You want to track them. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you want your kid to be an independent kid and be able to play on their own and make new friends and do hard things and you're gonna have to sit with your own anxiety that maybe it won't turn out well. And if it doesn't, then thankfully you're there for your kid. That's great.
That's exactly where we're going to end this conversation. And it's too bad we didn't have it when you were 12. Let me just thank you from the bottom of my heart. And in front of all these people, I'm going to tell you how proud I am.
Thank you, Mama. I
Be your
love
mom.
you.